But some of the recurring themes in the show is Doug's journal. Doug would constantly keep his thoughts and dreams in his journal. The journal would actually have sequences play out. So it wasn't just him sitting in a corner writing. You'd see his imagination form in. Yeah. And, from dealing with bullies to handling his 11-year-old crush, his journal was a very, very important part of the series,
It's how he compartmentalized and kind of sorted and coped with everything in a way.
And it also gave the animators some challenges too to produce that kind of stuff and make it look, because that's one thing about Doug. It was the traditional school and the honker burger and all that. The hangouts they were done in traditional cartoon style, right? In the same way The Simpsons was done,
Sure.
But the journal showed a vivid imagination. And then you had these weird and wacky sequences that would come from that.
Yeah.
And, it was a highlight every time he went into his journal.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the best parts of the show.
Also, recurring theme was Quail Man. Is Doug's superhero fantasy alter ego. I think everybody had an alter ego back in the day where they thought they were, hot stuff. It's
like the subconscious part of him, like the confident part of him.
Yeah.
Just like dying to come out. That's being held back by like insecurity and fear and regret and fear of failure, like all these other themes that are presented. Yeah. So it's kind of a reflection of like, if we could fully self-actualize right now, like that's what we would be. We'd be able to do. Because Quailman, like, he does have certain powers, but his biggest power, which he always says, is his mind.
Yes.
And so that ties back to the confidence thing. It's like going into a situation with confidence versus cowering and going, oh no, what do I do? Like, it's just a totally different mindset. Quailman's already dialed in. So yeah, he would be his alter ego, because that's the thing that's the thing that he wants the most, I would argue.
Definitely.
Because he's always like teetering between two positions, or trying to like find a way to have his cake and eat it too without hurting anyone. So you could have a total different podcast just on the mental like angles and approaches this show could have. I mean, it's pretty deep.
But Quailman did have a supervillain, Dr. Klotzenstein.
Yeah, it's very derivative.
Yes. I wonder who that's supposed to be. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be Roger.
Yeah. So I'm surprised they didn't follow the aesthetic there and call him Doug Man.
Doug Man, yeah.
But I like Quail Man. I like the underwear outside of the pants.
Yep.
The belt that he uses for
with
the little
top.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time to unleash the power of the quail.
Yep. And I liked it too because, growing up in Arizona, quails are really common.
Oh yeah?
So that was a very familiar animal for them to pick for his alter ego. So yeah, I liked that. I thought it was cool.
Oh, excuse me, hang on 1 second.
Oh, and he was able to put that together with just crap he had lying around his room.
Yes.
Like he totally DIY'd that. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it was a bed sheet and a underwear over his shorts and the belt.
And he like sewed a Q onto
That's
the
right.
sheet, I think, or something like that. But so it was all like very like minimal but effective. So it's great DIY.
Another part of Doug's life was music. And not in the way Beavis and Butthead had music, where they'd show a music video and stuff like that, but we're talking about the Beats.
Yeah, like an embedded band that was obviously based, in name off of the Beatles.
Yeah, only in name, because the songs that they played sounded more like the Ramones.
Yeah, the music was more Alice Cooper, Ramones, kind of more like the rock of that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't that sort of. I mean, the Beatles had a versatile catalog, but like, the hippie rock that they were known for, wasn't really so much that, and their aesthetic was more like 70s, so it was a little confusing.
Yeah.
But the music that they did was pretty cool. I like that song Killer Tofu. It's very infectious.
That song is in like the top 5 lists of, best fictional song of all time.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is for people saying, well, are all songs fictional? What I mean by that is the song only exists in a fictional world, you know?
Yeah, it's not by a band. Like you can't go see the Beats in concert and watch them play the Killer Tofu because they don't exist. They were created specifically for this show and the song specifically for the show.
Yes. Number one is Scotty Doesn't Know.
Yeah,
usually on those lists.
We get requests for that one at holodeck shows, and we're like, okay, one,
it's
not a real song, fictional song. Two, not a '90s song, and we only do the '90s, so very sorry. And three, no. Second
time. They did have 5 albums. The Beats did. Now, to be fair, the band were mentioned in a lot of these episodes, but only appeared in 5.
Yeah, they were like, you would see them, they would talk about them, you would hear them listening to them in the background, you would see posters. So there was ongoing references to them, but yeah, they showed up a couple of times, and one of them, I believe, they were stopping by there.
Yeah.
Before a show or after, like they had a breakdown or something, and it was just all by chance. But yeah, I think they played it perfectly, because if they'd been popping around all the time, it would have taken some of the mystique away.
Yes.
But having them kind of embedded in the show, in the background and on T-shirts and in passing, and then to have them pop up, it was like, whoa, cool! Hey, oh, it's the Beats, man! Yeah, so like you're right there with them.
It had it lessened it would lessen their impact the more they'd show up. You know
exactly.
What I mean? If they were there all the time.
It's like when you bring Fat Tony out in The Simpsons. Like, you have a purpose for that. You just like, hey, this is Fat Tony, and then cut to the next part of the thing. Like he's got something going on. So yeah.
Yes, it's always a Mafia episode with Fat Tony. I wonder why.
Absolutely.
But the Beats would parody the Beatles in other ways. Like they had 5 albums, 3 of them called the What album, Let It Beat, and Meet the Beats.
I don't know about that. That's very derivative.
And they appeared in the Disney Channel version, and they split up in the Disney version because of infighting and one of the characters' girlfriends. So again, just like the Beatles.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't throw the like a Yoko type situation in there.
You know who was the happiest of the Beatles split? George Harrison. Like when they signed the paperwork to dissolve the band, they had to keep the company but dissolve the band, right? For the legal reasons. Apparently, legend goes Harrison was skipping out of the office after he signed the paperwork.
Wow.
Because he was done. He was
he did fine for himself afterwards, so I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.